Let's bring in Craig Snyder, President and CEO of the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia. Welcome, Craig. How bad is this going to hurt China, and how bad is it going to hurt us, the U.S. consumers?
Well, the U.S. consumers will end up paying substantially all of the tariff costs. That's just what this is. It's a tax, essentially, on goods that the Chinese produce and that we buy in the United States. At the same time, it will hurt the Chinese who manufacture those goods because inevitably, when U.S. consumers are facing higher prices, they're going to buy less of these goods, and therefore the people who make them, the Chinese factory owners and workers, are going to have less money. Both sides end up hurt in a kind of a narrow economic sense. But this is really part of a much larger political, geopolitical, and economic relationship between these two great powers that goes far beyond the sort of immediate economic effects of the tariffs.
The president is telling us on Twitter that tariffs will make the country much stronger, not weaker. Just sit back and watch. That's what he's writing. Trump is betting on the long game, promising that it's going to be worth it at the end. Do you think he's right, though? What's the end game for this trade war?
So, look, this is complicated. There are many things that the president has said about this issue on Twitter that just aren't true. That just don't make any sort of logical or factual sense. Having said that, it doesn't mean that the policy is wrong. This is not an issue for tonight or next week or next year or even the next presidency. This is the issue of the century. The relationship between the United States and China, and making sure that that relationship is sort of fair and balanced on both sides, and that the really different national interests and national perceptions of interest are somehow found a way to be adjudicated and doesn't lead to a world war. So we really have to take, as you say the president is doing, we have to take the long view on getting U.S.-China relations right, and the tariffs may be one instrument of trying to do that.
The president also said, according to our correspondent Dan Raviv, that the imbalance between the U.S. and China trade-wise is valued at $500 billion. Do you think that this number is correct? It sounds a lot.
It is basically correct. It is a large number, although it's still only a few percentage points of our economy because our economy is so large, and the tariffs are an even smaller percentage of our economy. It is a large number, and the question is it sustainable over the long haul, or should the Chinese be buying more American products? Should they be protecting American intellectual property better so that they can't make copies and knockoffs and then turn around and sell them? There are real issues about Chinese behavior that for a long time the United States has overlooked because we have wanted to take advantage of the cheap Chinese goods. Most American families have homes and closets and even refrigerators that are filled with stuff made in China, and we've benefited. All of us have benefited from those low prices, but there are costs to be paid in the long run from having that kind of imbalance. And whether or not this is the right approach, the president is at least taking an approach to try to get the Chinese to correct some of the egregious behaviors that people have agreed they've done for a long time, but just haven't been able to do anything about.
And briefly, Craig, how can China strike back? What should we expect now?
So far the rhetoric has been fairly tempered, fairly moderate. Likely they will have additional sort of tit-for-tat tariffs against American goods that they are buying, which are largely farm products. So it will fall, the burden will fall of their retaliation will fall disproportionately on American farmers. But they're unlikely, it seems to me, to escalate dramatically because they need to sell even more than we need to buy.
All right, Craig Snyder, thank you for weighing in.